Jai Shri Radhe. Welcome to Migratory Monk channel. In this episode, I shall inform you about a British devil who single-handedly destroyed thousands years of Bharatiya Itihas, means Indian histories. But unfortunately, like Mr. Karamchānd Gandhi, who was awarded two big titles, Mahatma and Father of Nation, for destroying India single-handedly. Similarly, this British devil was awarded the title of the Father of Indian History. Do you know who is this person? His name is Alexander Cunningham, the father of Indian history. Now we will discuss about the notorious activities of this very cunning Cunningham. While serving in India as ADC to the Governor General during the period between 1836 to 1840 under Lord Auckland, young Lieutenant Alexander Cunningham conceived an ingenious scheme of misusing archaeological studies for long-term political ends. Later, in pursuance of that plot, Cunningham addressed a letter dated September 15, 1842, when he was just 28 years old, to Colonel Sykes, Sykes, a director of British East India Company in London. In those days, the Britishers were busy consolidating their newly owned empire in India. Consequently, there was a keen inborn patriotic desire in the heart of every Britisher then serving in India to suggest to his superior ways in which India could be kept under British rule to serve as a milch cow. Young Cunningham, as an army engineer, had no training either in history or archaeology. Yet he had a cunning, brainy idea of misusing archaeology to subserve British imperial interest. As an ADC means a confidential officer attached to the personnel or private staff of British Governor General. So, Cunningham was close to Britain's top administrator in India, particularly the Governor General, and later Cunningham had an approach to the director of the British East India Company. In his lengthy letter dated September 15, 1842, to the British East India Company, Cunningham conceived his diabolical plan, suggesting that archaeological exploration in India would be an undertaking of vast importance to the British Indian government, politically, and to the British public religiously, and that the establishment Christian religion in India must ultimately succeed. Here I am giving you a reference. The letter may be seen on page number 246, volume number 7, Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, London, 1843 AD. Now come back to the topic. So the whole purpose of archaeological exploration in India was neither the study nor preservation of historical monuments, but to use or misuse archaeology as an imperial tool to create mutual dissensions and resentment among Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists and Jains, etc., by falsely crediting all historical monuments as far as possible to alien Muslim invaders and label a few as Buddhist or Jain but not Hindu. Later, many evil personalities like Perry Brown, Percy Brown, James Ferguson, Kenneth Clark, Bannister Fletcher, and most importantly, Encyclopedia Britannica, orchestrated the same cunning tune of Cunningham, so that So that resulted in formally establishing and perpetuating a colossal archaeological fraud which is being sedulously taught all over the world as profound academic truths and is echoed in newspaper articles and telecast for over a century and a half. Cunningham's suggestion was obviously highly appreciated because when he retired from the army as a major general, he was straightaway appointed the first archaeological surveyor of India in 1861. Then as director from 1862 to 1865, and then as director general from 1871 to 1885. आप समझ सकते हैं, आप अगर हिंदी फिल्म देखे होंगे, आपने अक्षय कुमार की फिल्म पहले जो आया था उसको आप याद करेंगे, तो पहले क्या आया? खिलाड़ी, फिर आया खतरों का खिलाड़ी, फिर आया सबसे बड़ा खिलाड़ी, ग्रेजुअल प्रमोशन होता गया। ठीक उसी तरह से यहाँ कनिंघम को ग्रेजुअली प्रमोशन मिल रहा है। पहले सर्वेयर, आर्कियोलॉजिकल सर्वेयर, देन डायरेक्टर जनरल। नाउ the reader, the viewer, may notice a big 6-year career gap between 1865 to 1871. What was Cunningham doing during that period? This is a $1 million question. The answer is he was hatching his archaeological chickens by fabricating a false imaginative Muslim history of numerous monuments and putting up contrived notices at historic sites. Those archaeological notices, composed by Cunningham's scheming brain, are notorious for their vagueness. Without quoting any historical authority, they blandly assert that a particular township, building, tower or fort was probably built by a certain fakir. Fakir means Muslim beggar or sultan, perhaps around such and such a period. And the architectural style betrays some Buddhist and Jain influence. Readers and all others interested in historical truth may make it a point to copy out and carefully analyze all archaeological notices as historic sites. Usually, visitors to historic sites are in a hurry. They are generally content at having a visual impression of the place, and they also presume that notices put up by experts could not be wrong. But they are mistaken. The archaeological notices in India are a blatant concoction of an alien impersonalist whose design was to use archaeology as an instrument to perpetuate British rule in India and to convert everybody in Bhārat to Christianity. Therefore, his superiors always promoted and abetted Cunningham's sinister plan in every way possible. Soon after his appointment, archaeological surveyor, Cunningham took two assistants, J.D. Beglar and Carlyle, and from 1861 to 1865 together they made a list of important historical monuments throughout India. Therefore, the Archaeological Survey of India was suddenly closed for 5 long years. Please listen it carefully. The Archaeological Department of India was suddenly closed for 5 long years to enable Cunningham to prepare fabricated archaeological files and put up corresponding false notices at every historic sites in India. Once that was accomplished, the Archaeological Survey of India was equally mysteriously also reopened with a flourish in 1870 AD. Ever since, all those who have been studying history or archaeology have been merrily quoting Cunningham's fabricated vague imputations about the origin of historical buildings and cities to be certified as MAs or PhDs in history. Consequently, persons who are working around the world as teachers, readers, professors, or as experts in so-called Muslim architecture or Saracenic architecture in museums, colleges, universities, or in news media are all victims of an big academic crime or fraud and are pseudo experts who are unwittingly perpetuating that fraud. They never ever care to verify even some basic facts. For example, if Muslims were such great builders, where are their town planning and architectural texts? हमारे इंडिया में हमारा जो हिंदू है, हमारा वास्तुशास्त्र है हमारे पास, उनके पास क्या है? Moreover, what were their measurements of length? Therefore, the whole concept of Islamic architecture is absolutely baseless. The historic cities and buildings in lands currently converted to Islam are all pre-Muslim edifices built according to the Vedic architecture. Cunningham's bogus archaeological labors attracted the unwitting condemnation of his own fellow Britishers like James Ferguson, who observed that during the 14 years he has been means Cunningham, he has been employed in the survey, he has contributed almost literally nothing to our knowledge of archaeology or architectural geography. Who is saying this? James Ferguson, a Britisher. I am giving you the reference. You can see the page number 32, 33 and 76, 78 of Indian Architecture by James Ferguson, 1884 AD. Pioneer, an English Delhi of Lucknow, India, observed, the Archaeological Survey of India reports brought out under Alexander Cunningham are feeble, insane and all but useless, and the government has reason to be ashamed of a majority of the volumes. Here, the important point is that denunciation came from a Britisher, since during Cunningham's time, English journalism in India was in British hands. Obviously, James Ferguson and the British editor of Pioneer did not know that Cunningham was an impostor planted to fake archaeology. Therefore, all the publications he put out were bound to be sham. Now, I am going to tell you very important point. Please listen it carefully. It now appears in retrospect that it was Cunningham also who actually planted false Muslim cenotaphs inside Hindu buildings, inserted Quranic overwritings on Hindu edifices, and sponsored the fabrication of documents to be given to Muslim caretakers of stately historic Hindu buildings such as Taj Mahal. Consequently, the entire Archaeological Survey of India, even under Indian administration since 1947, August 15, is merely taking its stand on the very same fraudulent premises that Cunningham counterfeited. The result is that the whole world stands so duped that it continues to repeat Cunningham's blatant lies as sacrosanct truths. The vivid example we can see in the correspondence of BBC, London Times, New York Times, Washington Post, etc., everywhere in the world and in all social media. People still say or believe that Taj Mahal was built by Shah Jahan. Coward, characterless, spineless, criminal-minded and Hippocratic political prostitutes of India who have been enjoying all types of luxuries on citizens' tax are completely or have been completely uninterested in this matter. Even the editors of many reputed social medias, often swearing in the name of truth, fearless journalism, and freedom of expression, continue to ruthlessly suppress the truth about those historical buildings being of pre-Muslim origin. Even so many so-called Hindu political parties and religious organizations have been spreading these blatant lies in the name of secularism and Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. This is the direct and practical evidence of the influence of Kali Yuga. As men and women professing great sexual love for each other, Western newsmen are easily taken in by the bluff that Shahjahan's infatuation for Mumtaz was a strong, valid incentive which made him raise the Taj Mahal over Mumtaz's dead body. They are sadly mistaken. Throughout the history of mankind, no Romeo has ever raised any wonder mansion for his Juliet. To believe that Shahjahan was an exception even when he had 5,000 other women in his harem is the height of academical imbecility or academical crime. So my dear friend, if there is some pronunciation mistake, please pardon me. Please like this video and subscribe it. Hare Krishna.